不是这样的，是之前那边已经给了50万，今天还差这10万我带过来，总共是60万。
这一次婚风风光光的多好呢，是不是？嫁到那么远去了就归你们了，我们到家里养老找谁呀？多加你10万块钱股份，
那我们每年也会。
Marriage is often described as one of the happiest milestones in a person's life. It is a promise of love, trust, loyalty, and a future built together. For most couples, a wedding is not just a ceremony, it is the beginning of a lifelong journey. But sometimes, a single decision can destroy years of love in just a few moments. This is the heartbreaking story of Li Wei and Mai, a couple whose 6-year relationship ended only days before their wedding. They didn't separate because they stopped loving each other. They separated because money slowly became more important than trust. Li Wei and Mai first met during their college years. They became close friends before falling deeply in love. Together they shared dreams of buying a small home, raising children, and spending the rest of their lives together. Through difficult times, financial struggles, and family pressure, they never left each other's side. Their friends admired their relationship and believed they were destined to be together forever. After graduation, life was not easy. Li Wei worked long hours to support his family. His father had been battling a serious illness for years, while his mother stayed home to care for him. As the only earning member of the family, Li Wei carried enormous responsibility on his shoulders. Even so, he never complained because he believed every sacrifice would one day lead to a happy life with Mai. Finally, after years of hard work, Li Wei found a stable job. Without wasting any more time, he bought an engagement ring and asked Mai to marry him. With tears of happiness in her eyes, she accepted immediately. Both families began preparing for the wedding. According to local custom, Li Wei's family agreed to pay a bride price of 50,000 yuan. It was a huge amount for a family already struggling financially, but they accepted it without argument because they wanted their son to marry the woman he loved. To arrange the wedding, Li Wei borrowed money from relatives, friends, and even co-workers. Every penny was carefully spent. The hotel was booked months in advance. Wedding invitations were printed and delivered. Photographers, decorations, flowers, music, and transportation were all arranged. Hundreds of guests confirmed they would attend. Everything seemed perfect. As the wedding day drew closer, excitement filled both families. Friends congratulated the couple, relatives prepared gifts, and everyone looked forward to the celebration. But just a few days before the ceremony, something unexpected happened, something that no one had imagined. Mai's mother suddenly announced that the original agreement was no longer enough. She demanded another 100,000 yuan, expensive gold jewelry, and several costly gifts before allowing the marriage to take place. For Li Wei's family, the news came like a bolt of lightning. The dream they had spent 6 years building was suddenly in danger of collapsing. The unexpected demand shocked Li Wei and his family. They had already spent nearly all of their savings preparing for the wedding. Every expense had been carefully planned, and every yuan had been borrowed with the hope of paying it back after the marriage. Finding another 100,000 yuan in just a few days seemed impossible. Still, Li Wei refused to give up. He believed that true love was worth fighting for. Over the next several days, he called relatives, close friends, former classmates, and even co-workers. Some people offered small amounts of money, while others apologized because they simply couldn't help. By the end of his desperate search, Li Wei had managed to collect only 20,000 yuan. He was still 80,000 yuan short. Exhausted and heartbroken, he asked Mai to meet him. As they sat together, Li Wei held her hands and quietly said, "I've done everything I can. I've borrowed money from everyone I know. I don't want to lose you over money. Please talk to your mother. Tell her we can build our future together step by step." Mai looked down with tears in her eyes. She loved Li Wei with all her heart, but she couldn't bring herself to go against her mother's wishes. "My mother believes this is our family tradition," she whispered. "If I refuse, she'll never forgive me." For the first time in 6 years, Li Wei felt completely alone. He wasn't asking Mai to choose between him and her family. He only wanted her to stand beside him. But her silence spoke louder than any words. A day later, both families met for one final discussion. Li Wei's father, despite his illness, stood up and pleaded with Mai's family. "We've already given everything we have," he said. "Please don't let money destroy these children's future." But Mai's mother remained firm. No additional money, no wedding. There was no room for negotiation. The wedding day finally arrived. Early that morning, Li Wei put on his black wedding suit. His friends decorated the wedding cars with flowers and ribbons, smiling as they prepared to bring the bride home. Music played through the streets, and everyone believed they were about to witness a beautiful celebration. Only Li Wei knew how heavy his heart had become. When the wedding convoy reached Mai's house, another surprise was waiting. The room remained completely silent. No one had expected the groom to leave. The wedding that had taken months to prepare was over before it had even begun. As Li Wei drove away from Mai's house, the reality of his decision finally began to sink in. The wedding convoy that had arrived with music, laughter, and celebration returned in complete silence. No one knew what to say. Friends who had been smiling only minutes earlier now looked at each other in disbelief. Back at the hotel, hundreds of guests had already gathered. The ballroom was beautifully decorated with flowers, bright lights, and a large wedding stage. The wedding cake stood untouched in the center of the hall, while musicians waited for the bride and groom to arrive. Families from both sides welcomed relatives, completely unaware that the ceremony would never begin. Then the heartbreaking news spread. Called Li Wei. Once. Twice. 10 times. He never answered. She sent long messages, apologizing for everything. She told him she didn't want the extra money anymore. She didn't care about expensive jewelry or expensive gifts. She only wanted another chance. A few days later, Mai visited Li Wei's home with her parents. Standing in front of him with tears in her eyes, she said, "I'm sorry. I should have stood beside you. I was afraid of disappointing my family, but in the end, I lost the person I loved the most." Li Wei listened quietly. After a long silence, he finally spoke. This was never about 100,000 yuan. It was about trust. If someone can keep changing the conditions before marriage, what guarantee do I have that the demands will stop after marriage? A marriage built on pressure can never become a happy marriage. His words left everyone speechless. Mai finally understood that silence can sometimes hurt more than harsh words. When Li Wei needed her support the most, she had remained silent, and that silence had cost them both their future. Over the following months, Li Wei focused on rebuilding his life. He worked day and night to repay the loans he had taken for a wedding that never happened. It wasn't easy, but he refused to let bitterness control his future. Mai, however, carried something much heavier than debt. She carried regret. She later admitted that no amount of money could replace the man she had lost. She had learned a painful lesson that love cannot survive where trust and respect no longer exist. Their story started a nationwide debate. Expensive gifts. And it is certainly not built on endless demands. A strong marriage is built on trust, respect, understanding, and two people who choose to stand beside each other, even when life becomes difficult. Because sometimes, the greatest price we pay isn't measured in money. It's measured by losing someone who truly loved us. If you enjoyed this documentary, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.